afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I welcome you all
Good afternoon
to this webinar on behalf of ABP Group and abpeducation.com. I am Anjan Chakraborty from abpeducation.com, which is a newly launched website from ABP Group, ABP Digital to be specific. And we are powered by Anandabazar Patrika and the Telegraph. Though we have launched our website, abpeducation.com, a month back, we are basically a website that offers complete solution to our students, to parents, as well as to our educators who want to know the latest information from admissions to examinations to results to career guidance. All of that is available on abpeducation.com. We also have some of the top minds from the education sector who are writing columns for us and providing valuable insights and guidance to students on how to go about their career in the future. As I said before, though we have launched our website a month back, today is basically when we officially and formally launch the website, which this webinar we are scheduling, and we are now live. We have some of the top minds from the education sector in Bengal joining us today in this esteemed panel of VCs. And we are extremely happy and glad that all of you, sir, have joined us in this webinar today. We have basically 8 VCs who are joining us today, and we are extremely happy to have all of you here. Our moderator for today is Professor 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐢𝐵 Chaudhary, Pro Vice-Chancellor of Adamas University, Kolkata. He's the former Dean of School of Media, Pearl Academy, Delhi and Mumbai. Over to you, Professor Chaudhary.
Thank you. Thank you, Anjan. And indeed, it's a very important day for you. I know the hard work you have put across the last 3 to 4 months to make this portal up and running. And congratulations to the entire Anandabazar group, the leading media group of Bengal or Eastern India, and one of the largest in the country, to have taken up education in a big way with this initiative. I really appreciate the members of the audience. I must tell to our honorable Vice Chancellors, more than 3,000 have registered for today. At this point of time, as you can see in the chat box, continuously questions and wishes are coming. There are 500 people in the Zoom, and at this point of time, I think 1,700 crossed across various social media handles of Anandabazar and Telegraph. This would go further as we go ahead. I also appreciate the Honorable Vice Chancellors. It's very rare. I don't know whether we should thank the pandemic or thank Anandabazar or thank the situation that we could get all the 8 Rishi Munis in a way of this state in education together in one panel. I mean 9, rather 9, the top 9 in education here in this panel. And it's indeed really an extremely honorable sort of a situation for me to be sharing this dais with you and spending this evening learning from you all. I look forward to a very engaging week, engaging 2 hours. I must tell at the beginning, there are 550 questions. All these pages, more than 70 pages, are having questions. If I start reading the questions, it will be 6 p.m. So I will not get into that. So there are 550 plus questions, but most of these are around similar themes. So I will take those themes from time to time as we talk. So without any further ado, thanking ABP once again and thanking as I said, the Rishi Munis of Bengal education. We will start our day, we will start our moment, and this is indeed a glorious moment. And I have someone to start this discussion who has been the Vice Chancellor of 2 universities among the top few in the country in different occasions. And one of them being one of the oldest 4 of India. So I have the honor to now first call the current Vice-Chancellor of Jadavpur University and the former Vice-Chancellor of Kolkata University, Professor Dr. 𝐊𝐿𝐴 Das, a historian of an international repute. Dr. Das would speak on paradigm shift in teaching learning ahead. Over to Dr. Das for your next 7 to 8 minutes.
Ms. Anjan Chakraborty, Professor 𝐾𝐢𝐬 𝐏𝐸, my distinguished co-panelists, among whom are two of my best friends from the very good Presidency College days, and of course my other distinguished participants, and I am very happy that I understand there are a large number of my dear students. Could I first say a very big thank you to ABP for organizing this particular web conference and also giving me the opportunity to address the conference. Let me flag off a couple of points within the stipulated time, but I do look forward to have interactions with the participants, which I think is most important. First is the obvious point that the post-pandemic world will witness a paradigmatic shift in the realm of higher education in our country. But what is the context? On the one hand, the economic crisis triggered off by the pandemic is likely to cause a significant dropout of students from the disadvantaged social groups. And as is always the case in a patriarchal society like India, the girls will tend to suffer the most. So the social base of the student community in higher education in India is poised for a radical change. At the same time, the universities in India, whether private or public, are bound to face a severe fund crunch, which is likely to throw the present university system into uncertainty. On the other hand, since the universities, especially the public ones, do not have the infrastructure to conduct teaching learning process by maintaining social distance, which has become already the norm in our new normal, we will be faced with a particular difficulty. It is now suggested that to counteract this disruptive impact on the existing higher education system, we need to go in for online communication for teaching, research, admissions, and job applications. Of course, this transformation carries with it potentials for new possibilities. First, the technology-inspired, impactful education may offer new, innovative in the teaching learning. Second, the students will now have to forsake the advantages of direct class teaching and become more creative in the search for knowledge. Some of the material already developed by the MHRD to such portals like SWAYAM, like ePathshala or Shodhganga, which have so long been ignored, may likely to be utilized in a much better way. Thirdly, the libraries are expected to go increasingly digital, forcing the students, scholars, and teachers to become much more technology savvy. Fourthly, the physical conferences will rapidly give way to web conferences as the present one, which are expected to create opportunities for greater participation and at a much reduced cost. However, and this is important, the question remains, is India prepared for this transformation in the higher education system? My answer is a big no. We already have a digital divide in our society. According to the latest Government of India statistics, 55,000 villages in India are deprived of mobile phone coverage, and only 26% of our population has access to sustained internet connectivity. In such circumstances, web learning will deepen inequalities in our education system, which we cannot afford. Besides, commentators are referring to other adverse effects of online system for countries like India. First, it is feared that online teaching, which is now promoted in India, could cause what I would call homogenization of knowledge, in the sense that there will now be lectures of standardized nature based on a one-way flow. But I've always found a provocative student audience can bring out the best in a teacher. Some teachers, especially liberal arts, are also voicing the fear that the way the online education is being promoted in India could lead to monitoring of the lectures, which will prevent them from voicing critical and perhaps anti-establishment views. Secondly, health experts in India are opining that we are not yet prepared to ensure that continuous exposure to computer screens does not cause health hazard, particularly to eyes. Concerns have also been raised about how some of the apps can gain unauthorized entry into your domain, thus infringing upon your privacy. The central government has in fact raised questions about one of such apps, but we are using that app now. Thirdly, reliance on online mode, I believe, is bound to impart an online character to university administrative system, which has so long not been the case. This means the students would have fewer chances of voicing their grievances directly with university authorities. But I should add that on the basis of my 18 years of academic administration, I always feel that face-to-face interactions is the best possible way to address issues at critical junctures. Particularly, I have found on issues relating to gender injustice, the victims very often find it easier to drive home their points verbally rather than to put them in writing. Fourthly, it is apprehended that greater reliance on online system will cause intimate partnerships with big tech companies, which we have not so far seen in our country. It could lead, I fear, to greater commercialization of education and perhaps a compromise with basic research. Fifthly, online teaching will surely award a student a degree, which might have a market value. But it will not impart what I would call holistic knowledge, which for India is the need of the hour. Time has come to ask, what should be the goal of higher education in our country? Will it be only to produce students who can serve the market economy? Or the goal of higher education in our country should be to produce what the famous American philosopher Martha Nussbaum said, to create critical and inclusive citizens who can raise critical questions on the process of nation building in our country. Now, to enable the student community to deliberate on such issues, critical issues, the universities in India need to promote education, which in the words of Noam Chomsky, promotes enlightenment and not indoctrination, where teaching learning process is based on empathy, on compassion, and critical inquiry. We thus need to impart an education which in the words of Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore, and I quote, does not merely give us information but makes our life in harmony with all existence. We need an education which, where Mahatma Gandhi was, I quote, a proper and harmonious combination of body, heart and soul. We need an education as envisaged by Swami Vivekananda, which will lead to the expression of the perfection in man. My question is whether such a libertarian approach to education, as envisaged in the famous tract, Pedagogy of the Oppressed, is possible without a direct contact between the teacher and the taught. My answer would be no. So I would contend that e-learning or online learning can complement, but it can never be a substitute to direct learning. Let me end with a final point. As in all other crises in world history, the pandemic also has a silver lining. I particularly draw your attention to how the student community across the campuses, and I can cite instances, how the student community is joining the faculty members to develop innovative methods, innovative equipments to contain the pandemic crisis. And we need to sustain, to develop, to disseminate, to strengthen this creative student power so that, as Einstein reminded us, knowledge becomes refinement of thinking. Unfortunately, this is not happening. The pandemic has thus certainly posed a challenge, but it has also provided us with new opportunities. And the best way to cope with the challenge in the post-pandemic period is to strike a balance between these opportunities and challenges. Remembering the famous advice of the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi, and I end with that quote, every affliction has its own rich lesson to teach if we would learn it. Every affliction has its own lesson to teach if we would learn it. Unquote. Thanks very much. That could be the spirit with which we meet the challenges of post-COVID higher education system in our country. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Dr. Das. The two cardinal points that Dr. Das has highlighted, digital divide versus innovation. On one side is digital divide, the other side is the possibility of a plethora of innovation. And the other one, and a very beautiful one, enlightenment versus indoctrination. Education is for enlightenment and not indoctrination. So these two takeaways would be crucial as we discuss it further. I now have the pleasure to invite someone that whole Calcutta knows and bows to, respects and regards, revered Father Dr. J. Felix Raj, the Vice-Chancellor of St. Xavier's University. Please, sir, if you could talk on how to discover a right blend between online and offline methods of education, the point which has already been highlighted by Dr. Das. Over to Dr. Felix Raj.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor 𝐊𝐿𝐥𝐻 Choudhary. Thank you, Anjan. I want to thank ABP Group and particularly Mr. 𝐊𝐿𝐥𝐻 𝐿𝐴 for organizing these wonderful web-in sessions with, as somebody SMS to me and said, the Telegraph Group has managed to get AC8 roundtable. That is 8 VCs together. It's such a wonderful achievement of the Telegraph Group. I want to keep in mind, as Professor Suranjan said, the very objective of education in our country. As it was said by Mahatma Gandhi, that every educational institution is a temple of wisdom and knowledge, and every village is a temple of prosperity. And this is where we find. So our approach to any educational institution is a relationship of sacredness. And with this, I want to come to the crisis that we have recently faced. Every crisis poses serious problems and challenges. And it is our responsibility to convert these challenges into opportunities. And that's what has happened in the last 2.5 months. That our students, our faculty members, and our leaders have tried our level best to convert these challenges into opportunities. And that's why most of our educational institutions, from school to colleges and then universities, started off online courses instead of sitting at home. And so I can speak from my experience that from our university side, we are very happy that our faculty members and students cooperated with these initiatives, and it has gone off very well because we couldn't do anything else except online courses, and the teachers have done a very tremendous job. And this preparation is leading us to now to the future. Now very soon we will have the post-COVID period. And what will this post-COVID period be? And how do we convert these challenges into opportunities? Now, we have tried to respond globally in our own way. But now I think we will have to see the future, what it has got in store for us. Now, I have something very concrete. Because there is a lot of anxiety among our students. There is a lot of uncertainty among our faculty members and students. Now, how are we going? Already now you have a 5.0 lockdown. Now, what happens to the 5th phase of the lockdown? And what happened to the future of these institutions? So there is a lot of anxiety. And I want to answer this anxiety from our own reflections that we have had in our university. I want to approach this issue in 2 ways. There are 2 solutions to this. One is a short-term solution. The short-term solution has about 4 phases or 4 plans. Number 1 is as soon as this post-COVID period comes down, post-lockdown period is faced by us, we will have to immediately face our final semester students. We will have to conduct their exams, or we have the advisory from the UGC, from the government, from AICTE, from various regulatory bodies. And so we will have to approach this issue and then have exams online, or as the UGC has said, that have 50% on the basis of the performance of the previous semester and have the 50% on the internal assessment. So we are working out a system in which we will have the 50% for these final semester students on the performance of the previous semester, and then take 25% on the internal assessment that has been done already, and then 25% an online assignment, open book examination or something like that, so that we would be able to finish this job by the end of June and declare the results by 10th of August, so that our students, final year students, those who want to join for the jobs can go into the industries, and those who want to continue their higher studies can start that. So this something that we will have to plan, almost all the institutions. The second plan, of course, is for the intermediate semester students. So we will have to plan out concretely how are we going to go about in the month of June, July, and August. Now, how do we approach this issue? And I don't think it is possible for us to have online exams for intermediate semester students. So we should be able to have offline exams, but given provisions for all the precautions that we have to follow in terms of social distancing, in terms of mask, in terms of various other measures that we have to follow. We will have to see the capacity of the universities of the classrooms so that we could divide the classes into two groups and then have classes for about a week or two as a preparation for the exams, and then conduct the exams and declare the results at least by end of August for these intermediate students. Then the third plan is the admissions. We have to face the admissions. We have already began in our university the admissions online for PG courses and the doctoral students. But what about the UG students? So we will have to wait for the +2 results. So we will have to plan out for, as a third phase, for all the admissions into all the courses. And the fourth, of course, plan is to have the new session. When shall we start the new session? It must be more or less as it has been advised to us that we might be able to start in the month of September. So this is something that we will have to plan out very concretely. The other solution, of course, is a perspective plan. It's a long-term plan that we have to. As Professor Suranjan Das said, that online electronic mode of education cannot replace offline face-to-face education, but it can only supplement and complement the offline education. And so, but we will have to plan this. I would like to propose in the sense, what is the right blend between these two? Offline exams and online exams, or offline teaching and learning and online teaching and learning. So every institution needs to collectively reflect with its faculty members, with others, other experts, and find out a solution, whether it could be 20:80 or is 30:70, or finally, as gradually we grow, that it should be 50:50. So every institution has to decide and see where we lie with all our infrastructures and facilities that we have. So this is a long-term solution that we will have to, because after this COVID, some people definitely say that the COVID will continue for another year or two. Whether it continues or not, that we will have to, of course, make sure that the institutions do not suffer, and our students and other stakeholders, their parents and others, do not suffer because of this. And so we will have to take the full responsibility and plan out very concretely so that everything is in order, in place. And so we will have to work out these plans, these two plans, immediate plans as well as the perspective, a long-term plan. And as we go about with regard to the online, definitely we will have to reflect very seriously. There may be two streams. One stream of students who would prefer to go into the industries. So they may like to have predominantly an online type of an education. The other group of students who take the stream of an academic side, and they might like to have a face-to-face and offline education. So we will have to study and see what would be the best method that each institution should be able to adapt and see. All must be for the benefit of our student community, and they must agree to that. And so there must be wider discernment and wider reflection so that this process continues in every institution and we find a very solid, relevant and practical solutions for all the problems that we face today.
Thank you, Father. Thank you, Father. Indeed, the best thing that you have given small, medium, long, three perspectives to handle this very, unprecedented situation, which we have not faced in our lifetime. So online can be a solution and should be a solution of the moment, but how do we blend it with the offline? This challenge has brought in innovation is what you have highlighted very well. Month-wise plan and moving to 50-50 of online, offline maybe, and that too through debates and discussion to evolve, through a consensus to evolve. Thank you, Father, for your
Thank you very much.
Enlightening comments. We now invite Dr. Anuradha Lohia, the Honorable Vice-Chancellor of Presidency University, and the topic given is how are we going to pursue knowledge and learning as we learn to live with this constant threat to our lives. Madam, this has been a consistent question from many, many viewers. And for everyone in the panel, let me just mention, I have been just mentioned by Madam Shivanita of ABP. We have just crossed 1,800 people watching this program at this point of time as we speak. We expect even more because more than 2,500, almost close to 3,000 have actually registered, just for the information. So over to Dr. Anuradha Lohia, the Vice-Chancellor of Presidency University.
Good afternoon. It is indeed an honor to be part of such an illustrious panel, and I'm deeply, deeply delighted and grateful to the ABP Education web portal for organizing such a timely, such a meaningful symposium, webinar, I'm still using offline words, webinar for all of us to work together. Today, I hope to hear very divergent views. Already, Suranjan has presented something which is enough to aggravate interest as well as debate. Father Felix Raj is coming up with a more practical plan of the immediate future. Maybe I go the other way and I tickle your fancy with some more things. Could I have my slides, please?
Yes. The host could share the screen, please. Live screen. Yeah. The first slide.
I cannot see my slides.
Yeah, they will be, I think they will be just now screen sharing.
So while my slides are coming on, I understand the confusion over online and offline, the old method, and what is going to be our way forward. The last 2.5 months have given us all this pause to contemplate and to worry and to think and to imagine which way do we go. 2020 was not a year that any of us imagined. I'm a molecular biologist by training, and never in my life have I seen this kind of pandemic outside in the real world and not in and discuss it just in a lab. So really, which way do we go? There is no right answer to this now, but we can discuss. We can talk about different options. Nothing is final. And just like the coronavirus has taught us that it dictates to us what we have to do, when we have to do it, and not when the government decides or the individual decides, I hope such a pandemic and maybe similar crises in the future will teach us how to take life along with it and yet get what we want. So the current pandemic caused, next slide, the current pandemic, which has been caused by the COVID-19 virus, has made you and me stay at home. Now everything has come to a grinding halt. But what I worry is that the entire generation of young people transitioning from class 12 to college and then from undergraduate to postgraduate are anxious and faced with the uncertainty of what will they do, how will they step into the future. So we have to worry and figure out how to ensure continuity in education when public transport will be limited, when more than 10 people cannot gather at a place. How do we maintain a physical distance of 6 feet at all times? And this kind of a situation may be at regular intervals, or may continue for a while, or may go away tomorrow. Hopefully the last option is the best, but let's be prepared for the first two options. Now the future is always the present. It very soon becomes the present, and it is knocking on our door, forcing us to rethink teaching and education. I would like to add to everybody's concerns that the latest technologies cannot be rejected, but they must be incorporated into our teaching learning. The timeless model of teaching groups in physical proximity need to be reassessed. Next, I have a deep faith in all our students and teachers that provocative questioning or discussion and debate will not become indoctrinated and will not die down just because we are using new technology. Now we've seen that the trouble with the future is that it keeps becoming the present. In the last decade, e-learning by way of online courses has been used more as a supplement rather than the main tool. But when the lockdown was imposed, what did we see? An exponential increase in e-learning for school students through the internet, television, anything to make sure that the students remain engaged. So it's better than nothing at all. Next slide. Now, higher education has very different requirements. Unlike school education, which delivers a very fairly homogeneous content across the states or the nation, depending on which board you're studying for, a single solution is not possible for different courses across different universities, even in the same state. So a common platform or disseminating knowledge similarly is not possible. Therefore, each university must design its own teaching learning modules, and it has to be protected. That must be accessible both remotely and also to small groups when they meet physically. Next. Which way will the classroom be now? Our old model of hundreds of years has been the teacher or the sage, the guru on stage. This will have to undergo drastic changes. The guru cannot go away, but the presentation will have to be different. Restriction by time and location cannot be enforced. Classes cannot begin at a certain time and end at a certain time because public transport may not be possible, we may have another lockdown, etc. So classroom lectures which can be better delivered as modules, maybe on e-platforms, should be assessed by students at their convenience. So the discipline of actually taking a course will require much more responsibility from the learner, who now starts to become a more responsible young adult than a carefree college student. Next. I also propose that our modes of teaching change from giving classroom lectures to more research and experiential-based learning. Projects may be given where each student will gather knowledge on their own in different ways, consult with the teacher, use blended learning, as Father Felix said, using technology harnessed in the right way, and this will be a force multiplier, in fact, a democratizing force. And I shared the concern of my friend Shiranjan about the marginalized groups and women suffering the most. But you know, if we could use technology and harness it in the right way, this could be a strong democratizing force. This will also enable teachers to assess students individually from the beginning, doing away with the need of a cumulative exam at the end of a semester. Of course, each course will have its own evaluation parameters. Challenges in evaluation will be overcome with dialogue and mentoring. We are resistant to change because we got into a system which we love. Now we have to stop resisting it, but adapting to a newer method. Next. I would also like to say that technology will change the game. They will prepare our young students for global knowledge society and for the environment they're likely to face at their workplaces, where things are not always structured. The unexpected is the norm. So the importance of field experience will grow, often obtain real-world skills, and there should be room for internships, mentoring projects, and collaboration projects with industry. This will facilitate not only learning, but employment in parallel. Classrooms will be flipped. Contrary to the traditional format, theoretical part will be learned outside the classroom, whereas practical lessons will necessarily have to be conducted in laboratories where small groups of students assemble. Next. So what do we do about laboratory-based courses in the natural sciences? Instead of repeating a practical exercise, which people do routinely, students must learn the techniques and methods through research-based learning. Again, blended learning with simulations, videos, and finally, actual laboratory work after the student is theoretically and more informed and ready for the project should be undertaken. I foresee that universities could collaborate with industries, diagnostic labs, and other centers to train their students for practical experience, to evolve new methods of use in the world. Smaller groups of students and more laboratory infrastructure will be needed. Next. So technology will change the game. The examination system will change. Measuring competency through Q&A format might become irrelevant, and project-based experience will be given greater weightage. Our notions of the examination methodology will change. Students should have free access to computers and devices even during exams. The student's understanding of the subject and not his memory of the text will be evaluated. Next. So what are the changes that are already upon us? For many years now, online posting of grades and assignments, group projects through collaborative software, assignments that are completed online, use of cloud storage, teachers, parents, students, administrators communicating via social media platforms. Next. What is the role of the teacher now? Instead of information overload, teachers will focus on emphasizing concepts and understanding. Mentoring will be more important than lecturing. The more remote education becomes, the more central the mentor or the teacher becomes. So the role of the teacher is to inspire self-learning, to encourage, to support, to tickle a student's curiosity. And for that, the teacher will also need to understand technology and harness it to enhance traditional pedagogy. Next. So technology and teaching. So teacher comes as mentor. Teachers training currently would be non-existent in newer methods. There are very bright minds out there, but without an orientation in the fast-changing methodologies of teaching, learning, and evaluation. So we as organizers and facilitators must provide foundation courses for them, followed by in-service refresher courses. The challenge will be content creation, transforming large amounts of available information into courseware. Next. Finally, there will be the issue of ethics. Technology by itself is ethics neutral, but we have to face the plague of plagiarism. So easy access to online reference material, cut and paste, copy, etc. Now comes the role of the mentor and the teacher, who must emphasize bit training and IPRs, online fact validation, must give recognition for source, attribution. A little knowledge is a dangerous thing, so mentor them to dive deep. Also look at authentic websites. So preparing our own course materials, which are authenticated by the university and in protected websites, that's where we are going to live. And the virtue of honesty and integrity and the honor code to be inculcated. This is the future that I foresee. I know I'm probably a little on the level of fantasy at this time, given the current infrastructure, but I would rather that we imagine big. I'd rather that we fail after we imagine much more and come to something else than be rigid and think that we can't break the current system. You know, the virus has taught us that we can't do things exactly our way. We have induced climate change. We have altered the world parameters. We are the culprits. It's going to come back to bite us. Today, when the permafrost in the Arctic Circle starts to melt, global warming goes into a big way. Earlier extinct or dormant infectious diseases which could have been trapped in the permafrost are liberated. We won't even know what comes back. Can any of us imagine smallpox coming back? Who knows? So these are things we have to be ready for. There could be any challenge. And so the key word would be flexibility and to blend our learning to deliver. It's important for the child to learn. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Lohia. That was quite an elaborate presentation on how the future comes to present. And I really like this, this equation, future is equal to present, and how it might evolve. Engagement in the lockdown was must, you are right. Single solution cannot be there. There cannot be homogenization or uniformity across all campuses, because each one has to have their uniqueness. Sage on the stage concept really has to change today. Evaluation has to change through dialogues. I really appreciate this whole point of bringing teacher becoming mentor. Teachers were supposed to teach. Mentors were supposed to aggregate information and learning from various sources, stimulate, encourage, and motivate, and sometimes also become the 𝐾𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐢𝐬𝐬 and the 𝐾𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐿. On the other hand, students were supposed to study only in the classroom, and now we are going to a learner phase in the classroom, inside the classroom and outside the classroom, online and offline, from the mentors, from the peers, and from by experience. So we are moving to a new paradigm of learner instead of student, and a mentor instead of teacher. Thank you very much, Dr. Lohia, for your erudite talk. We move to the fourth speaker, Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad University of Technology. University, one of the largest university in the sense of large number of affiliated colleges, and fabulous work being done to bring in emerging technologies through this university. Professor Dr. Shaikat Mitra is evangelizing these new emerging technologies and how they can be brought on campuses and taken to a different level of education. So, sir would be speaking on how can higher emerging technology help in getting education better delivered post-COVID era, in the post-COVID era. Over to Dr. Moitro, please.
Thank you, Professor 𝐊𝐿𝐲 𝐏𝐸𝐬𝐬𝐿𝐿. Thank you, ABP Ananda Group, and all my co-panelists. Already we have heard lots of erudite, this deliberation from my previous speakers. I would like to put my view from the perspective of technology and professional education, because that will be apt from my side. If you see the time right now, it's a different time. And basically, we are talking about talking at a time when already a revolution has taken place, maybe a few years before. That is technology revolution. You see, this today's generation, they have different mindset. Even our personal life, our social life, that has been tremendously impacted by technology, and there is no denial of this thing. The way we now interact, the way we live, that is entirely different, which we did even 10, 15 years before. You see, even 5-10 years before, could we imagine of extensively using smartphones, Amazon, Flipkart, Uber, Paytm, Netflix, and all these things? Today's generations, this millennial generation or Generation Z, whatever you call them, they are more habituated, more familiar with this culture. Now, we should have this mentality to embrace new things with proper mindset. This is the time what we're talking about Industry 4.0. And for all professional technical programs, that has been aligned with the requirement of industry time and again in the history of the world. So when we are talking about Industry 4.0, the salient feature of Industry 4.0 is basically automation, analytics, and remote work process. What we are observing from the last few years, there is a drop of this recruitment of manpower from academic education institute for industrial requirement. Because of the reason, the changing nature of skill set that has been more acute in our orthodox system. Here, what is the problem right now is the rate of attrition of technology is so fast that every day we need to learn, unlearn, and relearn. And that is possible only if we apply right set of technology perspective and mind, this open-mindedness in applying all these things. You rightly pointed out that this is the time for learner-centric approach. And for this learner-centric approach for the last, these few years, experimentation in our education systems, particularly professional education systems, are going on the applications of cloud-based learning, flip learning, collaborative learning, then blended learning, all these things we are experimenting. And this experimentation should be continued. You see, this is not the time to compare online has these problems, offline has these things, these advantages. It is not the time to discuss all these things. This is the time to know what are the benefits available with the new technologies, new, this life. And what I'm talking about for that is for new generation education. We have to embrace these things, because the way we were teaching, we were delivering our content and our lectures inside the classrooms, could we distinguish between fast learner and slow learner? Could we give justified time to all these learners present at within a stipulated period of time inside the classroom? So that needs to be relooked. And therefore, you see, the advantage of e-learning is its affordance, and because this, and number one, number two is it breaks the barrier of time and space. Anytime, anywhere learning. This learning at your own pace, learning at your own place. These are becoming the important features of modern education system. When we were students, we could not imagine that sitting here, we can jump into the classes of top professors of Harvard, MIT, Stanford, Yale. That was not possible. Right now, through your smartphone, you can jump into their classes. You can see how these MIT professors, how they are taking classes, how they are presenting their views. So these are now becoming possible because of this advent of e-learning and online learning system. For e-learning, one of the pioneer university of the world is Illinois, and they, this recognize the approach of Rabindranath Tagore in their e-learning classes. Because that is a different story. Next time, if time permits, I will narrate the story. But the thing is, whenever some new things is coming, we need to explore what are the benefits of it. You see, right now, learning management system has evolved. And this learning management systems, many are offering either free, and there are certain prices involved if you want to customize it. Learning management systems, the advantage is you can go for analytics. You can know how your students are actively involved in that way of teaching learning process, how they are getting engaged, and you can differentiate the fast learners, accordingly you can plan for remedial classes and tutorials, all these things for this upbringing of these slow learners, or you can give certain advanced problems to fast learners. That is possible if we engage a learning management system. So this is one of the good applications of online technology. Second is, there are different online courses, not only in India, SWAYAM, NPTEL, these are here, but at this time, many of the top international platforms like Coursera, edX, Udemy, they have made their courses affordable, either free of cost or at very low price. There we have the advantage of integrating our education systems with these online courses, because this online courses is not a time-bound process. If anyone gets enrolled, then there are discussion forum, discussion prompt, you can continue. There are lots of references, study materials, you can put your opinion. Debate can be done anywhere because social media is connected with these online systems. And if you put something there, there may be comments. If you put your query, and that can be addressed by experts from different parts of the world. Peer-to-peer learning has become one of the important features of today's learning. How you are progressing, how your peer is looking at you, that is possible through this online technology, e-learning technology. So flip learning, self-learning, self-learning is very important, because what we knew at our time when we passed our engineering programs, most of these technologies have been changed, and we need to relook in all these things. In future generation, besides natural communication, our computer knowledge will be one of the essential skill, computer knowledge and coding for each and every discipline. That's what we are foreseeing. Everyone needs to understand computer and coding, because everything will be, this under this cloud platforms or on this online domain. Therefore, you see, there are many things are coming. Here, this time, we are talking about Industry 4.0, and to match with the requirement of Industry 4.0, we need to restructure our entire education systems in the form of Education 4.0. And that is entirely cloud-based learning. And for this cloud-based learning, there is a chance of using learning management systems. There is a chance of using online courses. There is a chance of offering credits if we take up these online courses. There is a chance of using virtual laboratories. This is the pandemic scenario. My previous speaker, Professor Lohia, rightly pointed out, future is uncertain. We do not know whether some more dangerous things will happen in future or not, but we should be prepared for all sorts of eventuality. And therefore, you see, virtual lab, remote lab, these are very important and interesting features. And this learning of the simulation, learning of artificial intelligence, because most of these things are going to take place at cyber physical space. And that's why our students, they need to be trained. Not only our students, our teachers also, because we need to learn many things at this rapidly changing scenario of this technology. How we are making ourselves more comfortable at cyber physical space within shortest possible time. There lies our, this challenge of proving ourselves, and that is very much required. Many of these business, this digital marketing, e-commerce, these are going to be the predominant feature of this robotics. That should be, because it's human distancing and social distancing, whatever it is, if it is continued, then we need to integrate robotics with our systems, with our life. And therefore, knowledge of robotics, remotely accessing these processes, and the taking care of the data or cyber security, all these things. Now, these people will be hesitant in using currency notes in paper notes. There will be then this resurgence of the interest on cryptocurrency and blockchain. So these are going to be dominating in near future. So many interesting things are signal processing, remote sensing, satellite image. We can predict many natural disasters, all these things, and that's required a good training on these digital platforms. So digital platform based learning and all these latest skill and attributes that are very much required. Regarding this assessment and all these things, I have taken up many online courses from many standard platforms, international standard platforms, MIT OpenCourseWare, to name few, this edX online, then Coursera, everywhere. I have personally experienced the quality of course space is so high that if anyone takes up a course and completes it, there will be a certain, this level of elevation in terms of knowledge and understanding. That is my personal experience. And there it is not, this after you finish the course, the role is over. It's not like that. This relationship and the communication, it continues. Every time the course provider, they will communicate it either to this discussion forum front or through emails. You will be communicated, and all these latest literatures and all these things which are being developed, that will be sent to you. So this is the time to encourage our students to take up many of these online courses from standard platforms. From their home, they can enrich their knowledge and skill. We are trying to develop our remote laboratory, and we are trying to use the virtual laboratory already developed by Government of India, engaging IITs and many top universities. And cloud-based learning, these are also going to be one of our important features because learning management systems adoptions, and we want to know how our students, all of our students, they are performing properly, whether they are properly performing or not. If they are not properly performing, what remedial actions we are taking to make them, this performer. So all these things we are trying to adopt, and I believe that in this particular pandemic scenario has accelerated what this endeavor we had taken earlier for making ourselves ready to take up the challenge of Industry 4.0 that has been accelerated. And this is the time to change all. You see, there will be problem. Everything, this in universe, one single object cannot be supplemented by another thing. One atom even, one atom of one element that differs from another atom of same element. If we look into it, so there is no question of substitution. Substitution is never possible in the entire universe. Nothing can be substituted entirely by another object, another thing, another system. But how best we are integrating all these things to serve our purpose, to making our next generation more employable and making our next generation more innovative, using and aligning with their culture, because the mindset, their culture of this millennium generation is something different, and we need to realign ourselves, our perspectives with this culture. Then only our education systems will bear result, and what we are looking for, generation of large number of entrepreneurship, knowledge-based entrepreneurship, that needs to happen, because otherwise, you see, this economy cannot be taken back again to its this previous position. And
thank you, sir.
Last point is this: if we do not embrace all these things right now, then we will be losing some things, and other small countries like Bangladesh and all these things, they will be taken over. I would like to give you one example. At Bangladesh, from class 2, they are teaching computers. That is not imaginable even at our state, at our country right now. When a small country like Bangladesh can do it, and the time is not far away, with their all these perspectives and all this mindset, they may overtake us if we do not take right action, right measurement right at this time.
Thank you. Thank you. Very right caution that you have brought in. A holistic technology important today, very right. Industry 4.0 leading to education 4.0. That is a unique contribution in your discussion. You have highlighted the benefits of new technology, the most important point of asynchronous learning at your own pace, at your own time, and at your own expense. So this asynchronous learning, and also the point of peer-to-peer learning and learning management system. Some of the key things that you brought forth. Online education, yes, we also have incorporated Coursera in our university, very rightly pointed out. There have been many questions coming up. I understand it may not be possible to take thousands of questions. It's 550 were there, and by now more than 250 questions have come up. So what we'll do, and there are comments also, good comments also by all. So we will make a soft copy of all questions and comments and share it with the Vice Chancellors, just for understanding how people have reacted and interacted, and so that you can also take into consideration in your future interactions again. That's one. There has been one question repeatedly coming, so I just would like to spend 1 minute before I call the next speaker. This is on digital divide of the country, which was flagged by Professor Suranjan Das at the very beginning, very rightly. So there, as has been told by subsequent speakers, any new thing will have initial hassles, challenges, both of access to it and of mindset. This has been repeatedly told. But if we cannot welcome new things, we cannot also proceed. That's also true. The government of India spends 2.6% of the total budget for education. If the government increases it to 5%, the additional money can actually go in creating digital access in government schools and colleges. It's good to see that some state governments have started spending more than 5. Bengal, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and particularly Delhi state government, they are spending from 5 to 25% for education. And perhaps we'll need a movement of digital access across the country going ahead to make the digitally divided society connect to the digitally connected society as well. This is one point I just wanted to share. Yes, all universities here should also inculcate the culture of training the trainers in the new era, online training, offline training, both training the trainers. The technologies that have been mentioned by Professor Moitro, or the approach mentioned by Dr. Lohia a little earlier, these have to be brought in first among the teachers before it is taken to the students. Now I have the pleasure of inviting the 5th speaker in this program, Professor Dr. Dipendra Kumar Jha, the Vice Chancellor of Adamas University, who has been also earlier the Vice Chancellor of TT Goenka University and University of Petroleum and Energy Studies, UPS, Dehradun. He will be speaking on outcome-based education, the bigger need today. Another aspect to this ongoing debate, beautiful debate and discussion going on. So many congratulatory messages from your teachers, teaching community, and students from all around. So outcome-based education, the bigger need today. Over to Dr. Jha.
Thank you, Professor Chaudhary. Thank you, fellow panelists. Thank you, ABP, for this opportunity. As we know, 2020 is the year of COVID-19 crisis. Will be remembered in the history of higher education as a year of radical innovations. At least we have started. It has sparked, revolution in a way that we comprehend education. There are a lot of things that we have been thinking, that education has certain stereotypes, certain traditionalities, and I was indeed impressed by Professor 𝐊𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐿𝐴 Moitra, the way he presented some of the technological aspect. Whether we accept it or not, technology is part of our life, and education cannot be an exception. This is a new phase where digital learning will be a new normal, and where accessibility and quality of higher education will be the key focus now onwards. The access to internet and technology, to my understanding, is going to be a fundamental right. It's only a matter of time, because everything, when it gets dependent on technology, or say information technology, it has to be a fundamental right. Right to education, it has to be a fundamental right. Likewise, the way we define literacy is going to change now. Tech literacy, or say IT literacy, is going to be a new definition of literacy. So unless you are IT literate, you will not be called literate in true sense. So those are certain fallouts, and these things were coming actually. It's not that just because of COVID has actually, this crisis had accelerated, made us feel that these things were there already, and we just failed to recognize them. Now, when I come to online blended learning, I think my fellow panelists have already spoken about. So I think a lot of things have been covered, but one thing that holistic education in terms of outcome-based education, if we start following, and it's not a new thing that we will be following. It's been there. I think it's 1989 when 𝐻𝐵ET came up with this idea of outcome-based education, and NBA represents India in the Washington Accord. So it has a lot of solutions. I mean, the way if we follow the spirit of outcome-based education, it emphasizes more on the learning outcomes. That is more important. Modes are not important. Whether it is online, offline, or what you use, that is immaterial. If the paradigm shift happens from teaching to learning. So I think learning is what we actually need. So a lot of teachers, we have seen that they are actually focused, or say almost obsessed with the way of teaching. Probably they would have been successful in past, but that with the changes in society, they are so consistent and persistent. A diverse profile of higher education student, evolving need of employers, and the role of technology in instruction. These all have actually, in totality, changed the spectrum of, education as a whole. So, however, the idea, that there could be something as aggressively disruptive as COVID-19 crisis was unthinkable. I mean, that we must acknowledge. There are three things that we actually think when we impart education: content, pedagogy, and assessment. So if we elaborate it one by one, see the content part. Most of the universities that we have here are using, I mean, of course, some of the universities would have done some changes and cosmetic changes, some universities have. But we have failed to actually change the way the content should have changed in last 2 or 3 decades. Whatever we used to teach, or we used to have as a content in, say, probably late 90s, where we did not have access to personal computers. It just became personal computer in I think around late 90s only. And now, and things have changed so dramatically. Things, I think Professor 𝐊𝐶𝐻𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐿𝐴 Moitra mentioned so many things that we could not have imagined about. Last year, Amazon delivered 100% of the serviceable pin codes in India. One could not have imagined even. So I think we are thinking of this situation that the generation change, the effective generation change, as we call it, is less than 5 years now because of the advent in IT, information technology. And if we think that, the fundamentals that of course, some of the fundamentals will continue, but if the content will continue to be valid and relevant over last 3 decades, and just a cosmetic change will do, I think we have mistaken. We need to actually seriously, not only the programs, but even some of the new things, new whole program courses needs to come up. Things like artificial intelligence and machine learning, things like, blockchain, cyber forensics, things like, cryptocurrency, a lot of things. And these are actually the need of the hour. People say in next, and researchers actually have indicated that in next 10 years, there are a lot of the skill set that we are going to require. I mean, the new generation will require. Half of them are even not known yet. So we are actually talking about something which is not known. And we are actually hesitant in making changes when something we are confronted with. So I think there is whole lot of paradigm shift is required, I would say. A lot of things are changing, and we cannot just say that, we are immune. A lot of things around the world are changing, but education as a teachers, we are immune to this. It is just, a wish list, but not true. So so I think the content is extremely important that needs to go, under change. The next is pedagogy. Now the pedagogy, of course, as a teachers and traditional teaching, actually we take pleasure when we say that, physical classroom, the smell of, that chalk and these days it's whiteboard actually. These things are not, things were already there. If you see that, digital, SWAYAM portal and Coursera and a lot of other things were already there. Now, since we are forced to actually implement some of these, now we panic. We always often see, hear that, we have already changed to, online education. It's partially true. Online education, I think Dr. Mitra also, pointed out, it has a lot of other things. It includes sequence of materials that include videos, readings, cases, quizzes, projects. It's actually, as you also, Professor Chaudhary, you pointed out that it's asynchronous learning. So if I'm actually, what has happened is, for the same length of class, as if for the same time, as if a teacher would have imparted education in a normal physical classroom, we have just gone through different Zoom and other platform, and we are calling it online education. This is not online education. This is partly true. So I think this the element of asynchronous learning has to be there, right? So a lot of things, in pedagogical innovation has to be there. Even the assessment part, I would say, what are we assessing actually? Instead of pen and paper-based, I can give you an example. I'm also an engineer by qualification. Say, for example, if there is a course called instrumentation. Now, the idea is our students should actually know that how to, make an instrument. Ultimately, that's the idea. They need to know the principles and ultimately come up with an instrument. If a student, we test them through pen and paper-based test and say, probably, we fail them just because they could not memorize certain, principle and could not write it. Is it a right way, or probably, the same person, if comes up, invents or comes up with an instrument which is working fine, I would say that, he should get actually full marks for that, because, that's what the learning outcome was anticipated. So I think the learning outcome anticipation is actually more important than actually, framing everything into a pen and paper based traditional way of, assessment. So I think everything that you, include, both, all 3 aspects, content, pedagogy, and assessment, I think there has to be a continuous improvement strategy in place. Continuous, quality improvement. Everything that we do. So I would say in a nutshell that what we require is, innovation. That's the key actually. You keep innovating in every aspect of, education that we impart in. The teachers, I think they need to know, they need to actually unlearn some of the things that, probably they are obsessed with, or probably they would have thought it's so great. Probably they are no longer in use, or probably they have lost its relevance in, with passage of time. So I think the continuous learning actually approach is more, it has to be inculcated. It has to be internalized by the teachers than the students. Of course, students are there, right? Students are doing that. So from a simple, source of information that, teacher used to be, the transformation has to be to source of inspiration, as Professor Lohia also pointed out very rightly. So I think, the transformation of teachers is important, and the role of institution is also important here. Role of institution to acknowledge, encourage our faculty member to, for continuous improvement is extremely important. We need to institutionalize the framework so that our faculty members are encouraged and they start learning, and in turn students are benefited. So I think some of these things are important. Resilience is another key point that I would like to mention here. One needs to be resilient as an institution or as an individual. If plan A fails, what is that we can do as a plan B? Because we saw that COVID came just it was almost like a disruption. It disturbed everything. But I think more important is how quickly, and I'm thanks to most of the institutions and thanks to our learning approach, I mean majority of the institution could actually transform to some extent to this online mode of learning. So I think a lot of things is there, and one thing I would like to mention is no institution can actually impart education to any student which is going to last for 35 or 40 years of their active life. This is not going to happen because things are changing so fast. In 5 years, as I said, the effective generation gap is actually less than 5 years. So thinking that something that we are going to teach them is going to last them for 4 decades of their active life is actually something, a great wish we may have, but it is not a reality. So what we need to do is actually, we need to inculcate this notion of lifelong learning in our students through different projects, through different ways, through research-based study. So I think the traditional way of teaching learning has to go a paradigm shift. And there, the notion of this, I mean, the concept of outcome-based education, becomes bigger and more relevant, more important in these days. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Jha. The digital learning becoming new normal and access to digital technology as a fundamental right. This fundamental right point is very unique. जैसा कि हम जानते हैं कि रोटी, कपड़ा, मकान, शिक्षा और स्वास्थ्य इंसान की जिंदगी के लिए 5 चीजें होती हैं. अब 6th thing, digital access, is almost becoming a necessity for moving ahead or progress of the society. You have said digital literacy is the new literacy paradigm. Addition to literacy would be digital literacy. Once upon a time, reading, writing, arithmetic was considered to be knowledge or learning. Once upon a time, signing your name is literacy. We are moving to a new times of technology literacy. Pandemic has only accelerated this process, which was already ongoing. Effective generation change is less than 5 years. Extremely important point. We used to say that 13 years is normally a generation, 12 to 13 years is a generation change. Learning outcome anticipation. Yes, that's another aspect, and therefore part of the syllabus has to be organic. Everything cannot be completely rigid and structured. Content, pedagogy, and assessment. Both should have, all these three have continuous learning and continuous change, continuous evolution. So organically growing these would be also important. Yes, resilience is an important aspect in the education of tomorrow. I would add being nimble, being fast, along with resilience would also be significant. Yes, there is a lot of comments who are asking for orientation of the teachers. Can the university vice chancellors think of FDPs on digital teaching learning systems going ahead? That would be a necessity. Many teachers are writing from all over Bengal and Northeast. I'm continuously seeing on the chat box. And I would like to, there is also a comment on electricity and connectivity. First of all, the Honorable Vice Chancellors are not CESC or West Bengal State Electricity Board. The people who are asking the question must ask question at the right place. And the second point is, the connectivity is a genuine issue. But again, the Honorable Vice Chancellors are not the people for that. What can be demanded is that we should think of, just as student pass is given, concessions in buses and trains are given, there should be concessional rates of telecom packages, internet packages given by telecom companies for students who are on the job, and genuine students with, who are studying at this point of time. So there could be demands like that. There could be digital access demand from the government. There could be demands of pads, tablets, tabs being given to students. If cycles can be given to girls who pass class 10, why cannot tabs be given as well? So there would be similar such things, and that's why I said India's education budget from 2.6% of budget, annual budget, should be moved to 5% plus. Physical public budget, public education budget should be moved to 5% plus. And last point I would like to say, repeatedly people are asking, can online replace the physical? None of the vice chancellors has said that. Everyone is saying it is supplementing, complementing. Nobody is saying replacing. As 𝐾𝐢𝐬𝐬 sir very categorically said, nothing can be supplanted or completely abolished. He has categorically told that, and he has talked about atom, the science, to give an example on that. So I would like to say physical plus digital, phygital is the future. Blended, someone has said, hybrid, as someone has said. I would like to bring now the next speaker, and very focused area. He comes from one domain, which is a very focused area, the judicial sciences. So I have the pleasure to call the Honorable Vice Chancellor of West Bengal NUGS, National University of Jurisprudence. He would, Dr. N.K. Chakraborty, who would speak on challenges and opportunities in professional legal education beyond COVID-19. There are many young people in the audience who are from legal profession. So over to you, Dr. N.K. Chakraborty, for a very focused discussion on COVID, education, and the law. Dr. Chakraborty.
Professor Chaudhary, I am coined my opportunities.
Sorry, sir. Bimal Mall, sir, please mute your phone, mute your device. Yeah.
So, I am to some extent agree with Professor Moitra that we are definitely passing through a crisis. We are definitely passing through some unusual time due to this COVID-19 and consequent lockdown. But I think from legal education as a professional education field, and particularly university like NUGS, which are among the top law universities in the country, we have some definite specific challenges and anxieties also when we face this COVID-19. The anxieties are how to satisfy the students and parents in this crisis, and also how to finish their final year examinations so that in our university 80% students are waiting to join their new job which they got 1 year back from various corporates, law firms, and other organizations. We are also anxious how to start our next semesters. And in legal education, there is another important component which is prescribed by Bar Council, and it is essential for placement or pre-placement training, that is internship. We have to arrange within our academic calendar and every semester some internship period also. With all these anxieties, and we have to decide how we can meet these challenges, combat these challenges. As university, education and institution, I think that there are 5 conditions that led the authority or administration to take decisions. I have to consider, or any other education and institution, particularly professional education or institutions, they have to consider the number and types of students admitted there, the aspiration and needs of the students, the faculty strength and the quality of the faculties, the infrastructure available for this institution, and also the financial conditions. Taking into consideration all these aspects in our university in NUGS, when we received first the communication of closing down of the universities, within the next 3 days, we met with the students and faculties, and we have no other time to decide because students are 90% students are from outside the state. They will leave, and we have to consult them. And in the meeting, faculties and our IT sectors, they inform they are ready. Though we have the first time to conduct online examination. So first thing we decided that we'll conduct online examination as per our academic calendar. In April, we'll conclude our online examination. And students agreed. And we have the first university, national law university in the country, we have completed our online final year examinations. And we are ready to hand over our mark sheet and provisional certificates to students so that in July, 80% of the students can join their job. And some of our students also joining some foreign universities also. So they will be also satisfied. So our first task that remove the anxieties of the students and also their parents. And thereafter, we have to look into the next semester, how to go for the next semesters. Definitely, we are also adopt the online class teaching. And on that, I agree with Professor Dash or Professor Lohiya what they have already put before the audiences, that it is not a substitute. But when we have no other alternatives, we have to accept that, as Professor Moitra also propagated, that we have to accept this COVID-19 also opportunities and how we can improve the online teaching also. We are also going to start our online teaching from July 1st. And we are also oriented our faculties who are capable, who are very much qualitative, and also they have technical know-how. How it can be more engageful, how we can remove the fear and anxieties by contact. And in online teaching also, we are trying to bring, as we learn or we know in social sciences, there is a sampling method known as, and we are also trying to bring that snowball method in teaching also. So innovative what Professor Moitra said, in even online teaching, we have to think in the present context how we can more innovative. And I think in background of professional legal education, this gives us some opportunities to be more practical oriented learning. In online examination, we also inform it is.
Suranjan sir, please mute your mic. Suranjan sir. Yes, Dr. Chakraborty.
We
host, unmute Dr. Chakraborty. Unmute Dr. Chakraborty. Yes, yes. Speak. Speak, Dr. Chakraborty.
Oh. So we are now taking this online examination, which is an open book system, that it can improve the skill learning, analytical ability of the students, and it can make them more critical, analytical, and practical skill oriented, which we know that after passing the examination, they have to join. And in our examination system, we also decided to make the more practical oriented, analytical oriented examinations that prepare their mind to be practice oriented. So this is another opportunity also. And we think in this post-COVID period, we are some know-how, some technology we are acquainted with, but we are not accustomed with or we are not using it. Like our meeting now with the committees, with the faculties, we are using video conferencing meeting, or we have a system of credit courses, which normally we invite the experts from outside. Now we have started that online credit course also, which is part of our extra syllabus. So what we are doing, and we are taking as opportunity to go beyond the routine syllabus, which is another way engaging and giving interest to the students of learning. So learning is a new innovation also during this post-COVID period. And I think that this period of crisis, anxieties, makes us also think our legal profession and makes the students more practice ready, and also make the student mindset that we are not only looking into the rule of law, we will look into rule of life also. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That was a very beautiful ending. Not only rule of law, but also rule of life. You have made it holistic. You have made it bigger than a narrow legal perspective. Thank you, sir, Dr. Chakraborty, for a short but very succinct presentation. And I really congratulate you. Perhaps you could be, I do not know, you could be the only university in this region who has completed online final year examinations and your mark sheets and degrees are ready to be given. That's fabulous to know that, because this is one of the biggest challenge and one of the biggest questions that's coming repeatedly. And later on in our discussion round, I would request all the vice chancellors to throw some light on examination system ahead. What sort of examinations can be done, should be done in the phygital world. We will get into that, but your our entire discussion focusing on how legal practice can be done from a distance, or legal learning can be done from a distance, online. This has been really fabulous. Thank you for that, and especially for the examination part. The other question that is repeatedly coming, and the vice chancellors, I request them to take it up. How would the practicals be done? I am aware in the school, CBSE has introduced O-labs, and there is this concept of virtual lab and virtual studio. But still, I would request the scholars, the vice chancellors, to throw light on that a little later as we finish the first round. Now we move to the next vice chancellor. I have the pleasure now, someone who has actually checked in perhaps the earliest and has been waiting patiently, listening to everyone, and has been waiting for his turn to come. And I thank you, sir, for your patience. Professor Dr. Bimal Chandra Mall of JIS University, and he would be speaking on mitigating the psychological impact of COVID-19 on learners. Digital for resilience. The aspect of resilience has already been mentioned earlier. So psychological impact and resilience. Over to Dr. Bimal Chandra Mall, Vice Chancellor, JIS.
Thank you, Professor Chaudhary. Am I audible? Am I audible? Yeah, okay.
Yes, you are.
Audible, okay. So thank you, Professor Chaudhary. Professor Chaudhary, Mr. Anjan Chakraborty, fellow Vice Chancellor, participants who are probably thousands in numbers, and they include both teachers and students. A very good evening to you all. And I thank ABP for organizing such a beautiful panel discussion, and also for inviting me to take part in this particular program. My topic is slightly different from others. All the things you have heard, very nicely you have heard, they have made very nice presentation. Mine is mitigating the psychological impact of COVID-19 on learners. When learners are stressed, so how to take care of that? Because we know that closure of the educational institution has a catastrophic impact in the world of academics, and close to some 60 million of the students across the globe have been driven out of their university spaces, and the faculty members are also confined in their homes. So perhaps a very important one but easily neglected issue is the psychological impact on the children, adolescents, and the young learners. Now, there are a lot of stressors such as the prolonged duration, fears of infection, even sometimes fear of death. Then there is this thing, frustration, boredom, inadequate information, lack of in-person contact with the classmates, with the friends, with the teachers, even with the relatives. They're all creating a lot of stresses, And then all are not lucky to have a big house. In a small house, sometimes the parents, children, they're all staying and the children have to have their online education staying in their small home. Sometimes the family members are stressed because sometimes the guardians, they are worried that they may lose their job. Some persons' incomes have already been reduced. Sometimes guardians may be discussing those things. Now, earlier when there were normal classes, the children used to be at the university or colleges, and at that time the family members could discuss their problems, but now they might be discussing in front of them. So this not only creates tension among the guardians, but also among the children, especially the adolescent ones. Further, psychological stress caused by home confinement for a long time could further aggravate the detrimental effects on the learners, their physical health, their mental health, which could cause a vicious circle. So some remedial measures also we have thought of and we have adapted also. In this, parents have to act, the government, NGOs have to act, and the universities have to act. So, and then I have got certain messages for the parents, which I gave regularly during the parent-teachers meet. In fact, that parents need to be aware of the downside of the situation, and they have to do more effectively addressing the issues immediately. And they should lend their helping hand in the educational journey at this moment of crisis, and they should try to tackle with them. And then parental encouragement probably can play a crucial role in successful students. Then sometimes, since you are all guardians, you are staying at home, sometimes you try to read together. When they are reading, you be with them and give them some company. Oversee the child's activity. Please see what he is doing, because sometimes they are very frustrated whether they are studying or not. Give them some encouragement, oversee their activities, and provide pleasant atmosphere. Parents should make sure that the kind of atmosphere that is provided at home, that's peaceful and pleasant. It is good to avoid discussing the family problems in presence of the kids, and they should not create a mess at home with unnecessary quarrels. Both father and mother should consider the importance of their, study life of their children and think about it seriously. And also the guardian must maintain the parent-teacher relationship. See, during this period of crisis, we had about 29 parent-teacher meet, and I addressed many of the parents along with the children. So I advise the guardian not to skip the parent-teacher meet, but to be with them and try to discuss the problems. Other times the parents don't get the children for such a long duration at home, but now they are getting them. So it's better to share their personal experience. Sometimes that what kind of experience they had in the past, both good and bad, and how it has helped them. So that may have some positive effect on their children. Similarly, at the university, we have certain responsibilities to balance the situation. Universities can provide proper guidance and counseling program to make them able to adjust with the surroundings and their studies. We have to have innovative courses, apart from, as told by others already, apart from teaching the regular class teaching, there should be innovative courses, webinars, etc. So that there should be better learning experience. There can be promotional videos. This can be useful to motivate the children to have a healthy lifestyle at home by increasing the physical activities and provide them the balanced diet, regular sleep pattern, and good personal hygiene. What I've been stressing all the times, even while addressing the students or addressing their guardian, or the fitness, the students, and for that matter, all the citizens need to remain physically and mentally fit, and that everybody, including our leaders, have been telling this. To achieve this fitness, everybody should try to practice yoga regularly, yoga, pranayam, meditation, and if possible, dhoti and neti also. In fact, I not only address the guardians on this matter, I prepare some videos on yoga that's practiced by me every day, and then distributed it among the teachers, and the request to distribute it to the students and their guardians. So that's what we have been trying to do, so that they keep themselves physically fit. We understand that they have many problems, especially due to the lockdown. The guardians' income might have reduced. Some parents are worried of losing their jobs, but all these problems have to be, taken care of. They should not be discussed in presence of their children. Now, during this lockdown period, our experience of JIS University, so that the students should be engaged in attending lectures and where they should be kept engaged most of the time. And we in JIS University, along with our another institute of this university, which is known as JIS Institute of Advanced Studies and Research, JISISR, located at Salt Lake. We organized almost 100 webinars on health science, data science, sensors, material science, computer plant synthetic, animal ethics, etc., to name a few. Now, each of these webinars have been attended by more than 100 students on an average. And in the short-term courses, a large number of students from different parts of India and also from Europe, even from USA have registered. Many students have applied for doing the internship in our institute on the practical problems, including the post-pandemic COVID-19 scenario. If the students are kept engaged and if they are trying to learn to solve such practical problems and the real life problems, then automatically probably they can come out of to a large extent, of course, come out of these psychological stresses. So we also arranged their competition of cultural activities, even Ravindra Jayanti online, hackathon online. In a hackathon, some 82 students participated. Then some doubt clearing sessions. We had about a number of doubt clearing. Then 300 online tests were performed. 112 students internship were carried out. So all those things have been helping the students to keep them busy and stress-free. So I wanted to tell a little bit about the other things, problems of that digital thing, but they have been already talked about by others, that digital divide and what are the problems that our teachers are not that trained. Then we don't have that connectivity in the rural area, because at least I've been receiving reports in some cases 5 to 10%, in our cases up to 20% the students, they are not getting that internet connections. And this super cyclone which occurred on 20th, that created further problems. Electricity was not there, for to talk of the net connection at many places, including at many places in Kolkata. So there are some of the problems. So I'll not talk further. So I think I'll conclude my things here.
Thank you, Dr. Maul. You have brought in a completely different aspect in this whole debate. You have added value immensely by talking on parents counseling, parent-teachers meets, yoga and meditation, and the importance of the mental health at this point of time when pandemic is affecting economy, education, health at every level. Thank you very much for adding a new dimension to the talk, and thank you for your patience for waiting long for your turn to speak.
Thank you.
There are certain questions repeatedly coming. One about evaluation and examinations, two ahead, particularly final year. Second about library and how can the librarian help from a remote. And third about practicals and labs and studios. So these questions will take up in the interactive session. But before that, we have the last but not the least, surely, the Honorable Vice-Chancellor of Sister Nivedita University, perhaps the youngest university in the city, Professor Dr. 𝐊𝐿𝐴 𝐏𝐵, a biotechnologist of international repute and also former Pro-Vice-Chancellor of Calcutta University. Dr. 𝐊𝐿𝐴 𝐏𝐵 will also be presenting with the help of a slideshow, and it will be good because we had a slideshow in the middle, we have a slideshow at the end. So it will be a good end to the first round of discussion. And Dr. 𝐶hattopadhyay will take up practical-based courses and professional courses post-COVID. Over to Honorable Vice-Chancellor, SNU University, Dr. 𝐊𝐴 𝐏𝐵.
Good evening to everybody. Thank you, ABP, as well as Telegraph, for this very important initiative, which is giving us the scope to interact and discuss some of the very, very important points. And I could see all my friends over here. And you know that any particular exam, the last student always is in a beneficial part. When it's a Viva-voce exam, he knows about the questions and other things and what already been discussed. So I can omit most of the things which I thought it's in my head. But now I can directly go to my presentation, which is highly focused on which it is not actually for COVID. This is in my mind for a long time, but that COVID is helping me to put forward to others that we need this thing to be implemented, which I really could not implement for a long period of time. So if I can have the presentation, please. Yeah, while this is going on, I try to cover, because Nirmal already covered the law, and Professor Moitra also covered quite a bit. Now, if I go to the next slide, please. This is actually regarding the virtual practical classrooms, which is actually for a long period of time, it is in my mind, and I always try to implement this, but somehow I couldn't. So when we talk about these virtual practical classrooms, it could be done anytime, anywhere. It is free to use. It has got a lot of innovative exercise. Now, this is going to be integrated with the learning management system, and it is ease of out through this Internet of Things. Next slide, please. So using this particular aspects, if I could go to the next slide. Next slide. Yes. So, no, just before this. Okay. Now, in general, what we find that being in the state university for a very long period of time, there are many times when I wanted to actually expose the students to the absolutely important experimentations, I could not, because there are costly equipments are not available, because the labs are not so good. So these particular rationale for practical classrooms are always in my mind, and I try to do that, implement that for a long period of time, and somewhat very successful in doing that. At that time, internet is not popular. It's 30 years back when I started with a small removable desk, which is provided by one of the company called Pharmacia, where I could demonstrate the very important, and I could actually, the students can practice this particular practicals. So it is definitely the on-screen simulation, the proliferation of quality labs, and sharing of costly equipment. All these are the rationale for these practical classrooms. Next. Next, please. Now, just to make a comparative analysis between the virtual practical classroom with the physical practical classroom, you know that virtual practical classroom cost is almost nil. It can be used at time, flexibility in options, innovations, and user experience is far better. The reason why I said user experience is far better, that in these particular cases, there are a lot of quiz and assignments which could be directly evolved from the practicals, which are actually done by the students and can be resolved by the students also. So in this way, they can really get a very good exposure to the different types of practical problems. And these practical problems, but over here, again, I want to emphasize, this is not it is a complement for the physical practical classrooms. Don't you think that it is virtual practical classrooms are actually supports the physical practical classrooms? But in this particular period, when we are having a problem of social distancing and a lot of others, how actually we can manage it, that is actually what we have to plan properly. Next slide. Next slide. So when we classify this particular virtual class practical rooms, the first thing is actually based on modeling and simulation based. And then we have the measurement based, and then remote triggered. The remote triggered one is actually done by the BITS Pilani 6 to 7 years back. And it is their remote laboratories are widely actually utilized by large number of leading institutions. And it is really a very interesting experience for using this for specifically for the higher education, for the research purpose. But in general, from the school level itself, we can go for, as Professor 𝐾𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐢𝐴 already already mentioned about the CBSE curricula, and the lower curricula is actually helping us to get this type of modeling and simulation based practicals, and the measurement based also. Next slide, please. And there we would find that there is always a very interesting interrelationship between the modeling simulation and software algorithms to the user interactive one to the magnitude of outcomes and solutions. And thereby, in the last point, what I wanted to mention, here the innovative and the creative part of the student's mind actually be very, very rightly could be judged. It is not that I am doing practicals and at the end of the practical examination, I could find my results are not right, so I got 0. It's not like that. It's a continuous assessment you can do on this and you can get these results out of that. Next slide. And this is some examples where you can see how the measurements could be done with respect to the piston motion equations for with optics, in case of fluid dynamics, in case of the motions. All these things are right now available. Next slide. Next slide. And in the learning management system, you can really get it tagged with it. And thereby, this measurement-based classes where you can have the designing scenarios by the use of softwares and the dynamic user interface. And this dynamic user interface is the one what we're talking about when we're talking about the curricula, which is there for a long period of time. But this dynamic user interface is continuously evolving curricula, continuously evolving in the practicals also, which definitely going to expose the students to a much better situation. Next. Next. So, for example, when we're talking about these certain engineering problems, in these engineering problems, you can have the dynamic causal loop diagram. You can do a lot of different types of algorithms with respect to the different types of interaction. You can do the bioinformatics tool to get protein-drug interaction modules. You can do a lot of different things, which you can see right now people are doing for this getting an understanding of the designing of drug molecules against the COVID also. Next. Next one. So the remote practical classes, this typical architecture of the remote lab comprises a learning management system which learners interface through the web server. The LMS then connects through a series of lab servers which allow the access and control of the actual lab equipment. And each lab server is connected to a measurement server which is physically connected to a lab equipment. So you can operate the lab equipment for a remote place. And this has been done and shown very successfully by the BITS Pilani. The main services provided by the remote lab modules include a demonstration of the experiment from the instructor to the student, visualization of the experiment by the student, control of an experiment by the student, and finally, construction of an experiment by the student. So these are the things what we can do using this remote practical classrooms. Next. And thereby you can see this is a diagram which actually shows that how the different students which are going to use internet, the campus network, how they are going to help to use this remote lab where all the different things are there. So these are the different things which we have to think about in this particular situation, because we have to expose our students, and this opportunity is going to help our students in a very large way, because we are talking about that the students should get actually to know what's going on in our surroundings. It's not that what's in the book written. Say there are in our curricula, there are some experiments which are obsolete today, but we still have that practicals in our classes. Next. Next. So there are a lot of potential users for this, not only I think the school students, for them also we have the whole lab, the college students, the engineering and management colleges, young researchers, all of them actually get to use this type of facilities and can actually get the benefits. Next. Next. Next one. And just to mention, Professor Moitra already mentioned about that the different IITs, they have introduced it in a very big way. Madras, Kanpur, Roorkee, all of them, they are actually utilizing this. And Amrita University, I shall request the students who are interested to go through this Amrita University with best practicals or these practicals. They are absolutely fascinating. For biology, I could see Amrita University courses are really very, very good. And then the IIT Hyderabad, the Pune with this, the IIT Delhi also. Next. Next. So the domains which is covered within this are the ECE, the CAC, the management, psychology, CE, the civil engineering, mechanical engineering, physics, biotech, mathematics, chemistry. All these are available right now. So these are available right now, so we can utilize these things. Next one. And this is actually give rise to an on-demand labs. There are freedom to make mistakes. You can do mistakes and then correct yourself. There are ways to do the self-evaluation, and also it's a holistic learning process. And that is definitely going to help these future students to become them a really good practical-oriented learners. Next one. So the requisites are the IT infrastructure, trained faculty, the learning management tools, and online resources. So if we could get these things, and these are, I just looking at this, you don't think it's much less than setting up a very, very strong laboratory facilities in your institutions. This you can, where the money is not there, you can do this. Next. And this government India initiatives are there for the last 6 years. The MHRD has started a pilot project on virtual labs. Various institutes have tied up to provide the quality education. Many web-enabled experiments are designed, and there are extensive training and research is being conducted under this project. And definitely for the faculty training, there are a number of projects are there where the faculties can actually enroll themselves to get the learning in this particular initiative. Next. So in synopsis, what I can tell you, these virtual practical classrooms are usually synonymous with inquiry-based learning. The learners are exposed to critical questions and they are left to their own devices to find the answer. An interactive interface will walk the learners through the problem scenario until a solution is determined. Think about virtual practical classrooms as applications of e-learning objectives. Use these best practices to decide if a learning situation requires a virtual practical classroom and implement this exciting technique into the courses to provide rich interactive in e-learning process. Next. So different sources which I've used for this presentation, and I really thank you everybody for this. So based on this, what I want to say, this particular new normal situation, we have to understand that how the practicals, which we cannot do it in general like previously, we can use this particular system in a very, very effective manner, and it will expose our students much better. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chattopadhyay. This was one of the recurring questions by many members of the audience about practical work, about laboratory. You have taken that up in extensive manner. For those who are writing that you couldn't understand some of the ideas, that is natural because the ideas were a little technology driven and technical. We shall be, I have requested and the ABP has already decided to share the link of the video of the entire talk with all the 2,500, so almost 3,000 registered, though at the highest point of time there were 2,000 participants, but all the 3,000 registered people, they will get the link. They will get the link. So do not worry. This has to be understood and learned. As I said at the beginning, the best minds and the most passionate hearts in education in Bengal are in the room today, and their knowledge, their experience has to be shared for the long term. So Dr. Dhruva Chatterjee focused on virtual classroom, practicals online in details. He understood and he made us understand the importance of modeling and simulation in this context, measurement-based classes, also applying design thinking, app-based practical with a high user interface, high user experience interface, and also the value-add matrix that such a system can bring forth. Thank you. Just to, before we start the answering of the questions, just to have a quick sum and substance. We have been here almost close to 2 hours. We have had a superb start by Dr. Das, Professor Das, the Vice-Chancellor of Jadavpur University. Digital divide versus innovations possible. These two aspects he brought forth. Enlightenment versus indoctrination. a very important debate he raised. And then Father Felix spoke eloquently about short, middle, and long-term solutions. What going ahead immediately that should be taken up with respect to blending online and offline both together. Dr. Lohia effectively explained the evolution of mentors in place of teachers, apart from many other aspects that she brought forth. Dr. Moitro eloquently introduced a new concept, Education 4.0, in times of Industry 4.0. That was a key point he brought forth. Continuing with the technology aspect, Dr. Jha spoke about digital access as fundamental right, about learning outcome anticipation, how content, pedagogy, and assessment all will change under blended learning. NUJ's Vice-Chancellor, Dr. Chakraborty, must be congratulated for completing final year evaluation already. He explained about online professional internship also, specifically in the context of law, legal profession. Dr. B.C. Mall spoke at length about mental health handling and the important need to counsel parents, parent counseling and PTM, the importance of that today, and about yoga and meditation and many other value addition. And Dr. D.J.C. 𝐏𝐲 𝐏𝐿𝐻𝐿 of CENU focused on remote practical classroom, virtual classes, and measurement-based classes. So with that, we bring to the end of the first part. I know it has already gone beyond the time that we needed to, but it was so rich, so enriching. I mean, and continuous comments coming from the readers, from the listeners, and on all platforms. So I did not feel like even getting by this time management thing at all. So everyone should speak their heart, speak their points. That has happened. So 4 questions have come up largely. 1, evaluations and examination. I know it's a touching issue now, both of intermediate semesters and final semesters. So how can it be done? How are the universities thinking? Particularly repeated question has been asked for Dr. Mitra on this. So at this point, he's not there, I suppose, but we need him. Dr. Mitro, we need Dr. Moitro also. Yeah, so the evaluation and examination, how it can be done. Then about library and learning resources. Learning resources online have been discussed, but as for library and librarian's role, practicals, yes, Dr. Dhruvajyoti Chattopadhyay has taken up this issue in a big way, but welcome new comments. And admissions of 2020. So this is another issue, undergraduate, postgraduate admission. How are we, when are we going to do what process? So I'd request every Vice-Chancellor to pick up any 1, 2 of these on their choice, speak for 2-3 minutes only. Let's have a full round on 2-3 minutes so that these are the most common questions that have come repeatedly. Evaluation, library, practical, and admissions. Over to Dr. Lohia first to speak on that.
Yeah, so what we have taken a stance in Presidency University is that for the terminal semesters, the outgoing batches, both undergraduate and postgraduate, we are going to give them weightage of 50% on the semesters already concluded. We will take their grades or marks, whatever, and 50% of the weightage will be on that. And about 2 weeks ago, we had a high-level governing board meeting where we decided that students should be asked to make given assignments, which they can take about 4 to 5 weeks and submit these assignments by email or by uploading on our web portal as the teachers would like, and the teachers are there to guide them through it. So based on those assignments, they would be giving the remaining 50% of the marks. So we hope to conclude our evaluation of the terminal semesters by the end of June and bring the results out in the first week of July. For the second year, the undergraduate students, we will repeat a similar exercise towards the end of July. So in the third week of July, we will complete the evaluation for the ongoing semesters, and that will also be an online assessment. For this time, we are not going to hold any pen and paper examination. It will be based on individual assignments, which will be handed over. The decision of the assignments, what kind of assignments, how it will be submitted is being taken over by the different departmental heads and faculty. We have just given a request to all faculty to discuss with the departmental examination committee. So by the end of July, we will have completed all examinations which are pending up till now. For admissions, we will wait to see when the higher secondary exams are completed. It's only after that that we can have our admissions, which in any case, in our case, is held by the Joint Entrance Board.
Thank you, Dr. Lohia, for taking up the examination issue with some details. Dr. 𝐾𝐢𝐬𝐜𝐿, if you do not mind, if you could come. And there have been questions. Sir, asked on how evaluation and when examination can be done. So, if Dr. 𝐾𝐢𝐬𝐜𝐿, if you could come on the video. Okay, he is just now not on video. Yes, Dr. Felix Raj, Father Felix Raj, if you could speak next. Please unmute yourself. Unmute yourself. Unmute. Host, please unmute Father Felix Raj. Someone should be allowed. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
For final semester students, based on the advisory of UGC, we are going in exactly as Dr. Lohia said, that we would be able to complete the whole process of 50% on the last semester, 5th semester, and then 25% on the internal assessment, and 25% on an online assignment or a subject-based open question answers. So this process will be completed by the end of June, and then we would be able to announce the results within the first week of July. That is for all the final semester students, postgraduate as well as undergraduate. For all the intermediate students, we would bring them and have 2 weeks of actual classes, but divide the classrooms into 2 so that each student sits in only one bench, because it's too long, 2.5 months. And I think our students are getting fed up. They want to come back to the universities, and we should give them an opportunity to be together. But of course, keeping all the measures, all the precautionary measures that have been announced. After 2 weeks of contact classes, they would go in for an offline examinations, which would, I think, should be over by mid-August, and the results will be announced for all of them, because they are going to be students here, intermediate semester students. So they can get their results anytime, but we would be able to publish the results by the end of August. So this is what is our plan with regard to final semester students as well as the intermediate students.
Father,
with regard to admissions, we have already begun admission. So there should be no problem except the delay. We keep on postponing the dates for the convenience of students because of the lockdowns. So we give them again and again a postponement. And so it should be able to take place in the month of July, August. The whole process must complete. And then we should be able to start the first semester, the fresh students as well as for others, beginning of September.
Father, if you could say, when are you planning this offline classes, face-to-face classes of the intermediary batches that you said just now for a week or 2? Which is the time you are planning?
I can't hear you.
Which is the time, which is the week, or which period are you planning for offline face-to-face classes of intermediary batches?
It's not clear to me.
So can you hear me now?
Yes.
What is the time period or timeline for physical face-to-face classes of the intermediary batches?
Tomorrow on Monday we are having a high-level meeting, and we would definitely finalize the timeline, the whole procedure, the process that we are going to follow, because the students should know, the faculty members should know what is our plan. And so once the final decision is taken on Monday, we would communicate to our student community and the faculty members what is our decision with regard to all the semesters as well as with regard to the admissions. Now, there would definitely be problem with regard to some students. Some students may not have the internet facilities. Some students may not have the infrastructure at home or anywhere. So we would give them an opportunity to come to the university, and we will give them the internet facilities so that they are able to give their exams online in the campus of the university.
Great.
Taking into account, of course, all the precautions.
Thank you. Thank you, Father. To the best of my knowledge, till 30th June, we cannot have students on campus, if I'm not wrong. That's what the central government has noted. So any face-to-face classes has to be beyond 30th June. Dr. Moitra, please. There have been large number of questions from our viewers on intermediary and final exams under 𝐏𝐽𝐻, and how are you going to conduct the admission test? When do you expect the admission test and process to end in your affiliated colleges and 𝐏𝐽𝐻 directly? And when do you expect the new batch to start? The exams and new admissions. Dr. Moitra, please.
For admission to new batches, we conduct examination like CET and JMAT, then that is already in online mode. So this time, what we'll be doing, as you rightly pointed out, in the month of June, students will not be allowed to enter campus. So what we will be doing, that online process for admission, that will be continued like the previous year. And this year, we are going to start our semester for new batches, maybe from September onwards. So we will get sufficient time till August to take admission of all our new entrants to CET and manage these professional programs and management programs. For joint entrance and these engineering, the students who join the engineering program through joint entrance, for them the situation is always online. That was online, and that will be continued. And whenever the result and everything, that will be published, and after that we will be trying to take admission following this online mode.
Admission part is clear. On the examination, could you elaborate a bit more? Both intermediary and
examination
the
part, as per for examination part, following the UGC guideline, our state government guideline, we are now focusing on final semester examination, completion of the final semester examination, and that we are going to complete by July, if every situation remains in the right direction. And we have a good internal assessment, continuous evaluation systems. And based on this continuous evaluation systems and final semester examination, which we are planning, that will be computer-based evaluation at home centers. But that we are planning in the month of July, as stipulated by UGC, and our state government also wants to complete this final semester examination, because most of the students, they are going to join many organizations after passing out from these engineering and professional programs. So that is our primary focus now. And for all other semesters, these online courses and continuous evaluation, which was going, that will be continued. I am happy to announce that our online courses for all other semesters and continuous evaluation, that has been completed significantly. And afterwards, we will be deciding to take up any end semester examination for all other semesters after finishing the final semester examination.
Okay. Sir, that means the June exams, you will do it online, and you will be based on this online evaluation.
Not in June. We will be trying to take it this semester examination in July. Okay. But for the sessional and practical through online mode, we will try to complete in the month of June. That will be because the semester practicals and all the project, the sessional and project works, that can always be done through video conferencing online mode. That we will try to complete in the month of June. And then July we will be planning for, we have already taken a plan for this taking online examinations, not online, it is specifically computer-based examinations at local server. The students will be required to go to their colleges and to appear at the examination, maintaining all social distance and norm and all these things. And that will be continued for a longer period, so that every student can get a chance to appear at the examination. Afterwards, we will try to process the result of final semester.
Great.
And then for other semesters, whatever is going now, the situation will continue, and we will decide after the final semester examination is over. Then we will decide the final semesters of final examination of other semesters.
Thank you, sir. Very well said and detailed. And for all the Vice Chancellors, I would like to note all the comments and questions, observations by every viewer on any platform would be collated and soft copy sent to you as an attachment, so that you could have a look quickly. I know it will take time to read all of them, but up to you. But you could have an understanding of what the educational community and the students are thinking in this line. Professor Suranjan Das, please, if you could speak on, yes, unmute yourself, sir, unmute yourself. And if you could speak on the issues of admission and examination. Unmute, sir. Professor Suranjan Das, unmute yourself.
Yeah, very quickly. On evaluation, we'll be basically following the mode that Presidency University and St. Xavier's University are following, but the ratio would be different. As you know, Jadavpur University is the only university which has a full-fledged technology course as well as social science, humanities, literature and science courses. For the technology courses, what we have decided is 30% of the weightage will be given to the past semesters and 70% would be on the basis of evaluation. But I emphasize this will not be on the online mode. We make a distinction between online mode and distance mode. For the 70%, the evaluation will be based on home assignment and other forms of internal assignments which the departments will conduct, and the students will be required to send the home assignments through any of the platforms, either through app or through email. And the students who don't have that facility, we have decided to organize to pick up the home assignments from their homes and then evaluate. So far as the other faculties are concerned, probably the same thing would be happening whether it's 30-70 or 50-50. We are left to the faculties to decide. We have not taken the decision. So far as the intermediate semesters are concerned, we have not even taken a decision. We will do it after the final semesters are over. We are only concentrating on the final semesters. Again, so far as admission is concerned, as Anuradha said, we have to wait till the CBSE and the ISC examinations are out, and we have to also wait whether the government of West Bengal takes any policy decision in the matter. I want to make one point about the digital library, a very important point that has been made. I think India lags far behind in the development of digital library. We cannot think of having online system without digitizing the library system. I mean, unfortunately, I am perhaps the only one from social science background in this whole panel. In social science, as we know, we scrape the barrel for existence. We do not think of online video laboratories and things like that my friend Dhruvo can afford. Now take for example a social science subject, history or political science. You know how digitization is done in India. I have enough examples to show digitization is done in such a haphazard manner that after page 1 you go to page 8 or page 9. That is not the way that digitization is done. So if we have to go in for a full online or a better online system, along with the development of online virtual labs, we should have a full-fledged digitized library based on proper digitization. The British Library has done a lot of digitization, but they do not throw away the original documents. I know in many cases where in archives and libraries here, digitization has been done in a wrong way, and the original manuscripts have been thrown away. That is not the way. So we have to take a very strong digitization.
Yeah.
Digital book. Don't forget to read textual books. You know, when we were young, we used to get a lot of inspiration from books like Abul Tabul, Thakuma Julie and others. I ask a simple question. Is it the same thing that a child gets while reading Abul Tabul and Thakuma Julie in text, and the same thing that a child gets while reading at a Kindle? I'll just make one final comment and end. I had the very great fortune of doing my doctoral research in Oxford under the very famous historian, Professor Tapan Ray Chaudhuri. Tapan once told me, you know, you all read all these things, manuscripts in the computer, but you know, when you turn, that was his comment, when you turn over an old manuscript page, a certain smell emanates from the pages, and that smell invigorates you. I think as we go in for digitization, as we go in for online technology, as we go in for celebrate technology, kindly do not forsake old teaching habits. I do not believe in the dictum that tradition is essential and impediment to progress. What we need is to drive a marriage between tradition and modernity. That is why a whole range of discourses in the world is now not going against tradition, but about tradition and modernity. So yes, we have to take up the challenge of online education. We have to take up the challenge of digitization, but for heaven's sake, don't forget tradition. Thank you very much.
Great, Professor Suranjan Das. very passionate. What I like first, and third, I am also a social science student.
So we are in the same boat. We are in the same boat.
Yes. So, and I am also passed out from your university, Jadavpur University, international relations.
Let me share a joke. You know, 𝐿𝐴𝐬𝐬𝐜𝐻𝐿 is my best friend. He is one of the finest biotechnologists that we have in India. So one day 𝐿𝐴𝐬𝐬𝐜𝐻𝐿 was explaining how advanced we have made in biotechnology and so on. So I asked 𝐿𝐴𝐬𝐬𝐜𝐻𝐿 one simple question. You know, there was a recent article in the Economic and Political Weekly, and there it was shown that only 10% of the fruits in biological research and training go for the Indian poor farmers. 90% go for the multinationals. So we need to create a group of students who would be not only practicing their their experiments, whether in virtual or real laboratories, but also to try to relate science with society, society and science. We need to take the laboratories to fields and also field to the laboratory. Unless we do that, we cannot make an advancement. And this is what the general wisdom is coming from the West. There's a whole range of discourse on science and society. Please don't forget that particular discourse.
Great. Science to society and society to science. Field and...
I hope you are not angry.
No. Nobody is angry. Are you angry, Dhruva sir?
Well, we constantly fight. Dhruva and myself, we constantly fight over ideas. And that is one of the greatest sources of nourishment of how science and bioscience, science and technology can come together.
Yes.
Sorry, science and social science can come together.
Indeed,
have a joint project to this particular Wellcome Trust.
Yes, we work together in the Wellcome Trust, and there's also another great expert in Wellcome Trust sitting in front of us. So Wellcome Trust does provide you a lot of opportunities to bring science and social sciences together. That is the way forward. We should try to do that.
Thank you. Indeed, I really love the polemics here, and polemics with a touch of humor, polemics with a touch of bonding. In fact, we need physical distancing, but social bonding. Bonding shouldn't go. And emotional this whole stupid emotional bonding with this whole stupid idea of social distancing is wrong. Social distancing is a wrong word. It should be physical distancing.
Physical distancing. That's what. It is physical distancing.
Sure.
Yeah, Dhruva sir, DJC, if you could add.
Yeah, no, I shall just add the different digital libraries which are available, but in social science also they're available right now, because most of the leading universities throughout the globe, they are right now offering their free of service so that the students from here could access. One of the area, World Digital Library. If somebody can go for World Digital Library, they can get all different types of access to these things. The National Digital Library of India, it is also giving it has also have the provision to utilize the library. IEEE Explore, the Country Reports, the ERIC, the Project Gutenberg, the Science Daily, all these are the sites which are actually giving us free usage of the digital library. Other than this, there are Directory of Open Access Journals, DOAJ, and DOAB, which is Directory of Open Access Books. Now, the PLOS, the Public Library of Science, is also right now open, free, and students can actually go and utilize the library facilities. So there are Google Books full text, which people can use for the digital library. And I just want to end that if you look at the back is Abul Tabul.
I know. but can I make a quick final comment? You know, we should not forget the old English adage that we should not put the cart before the horse. Let us first improve connectivity. Let us first give good, real access to all sections of the society to internet connectivity. That is the first precondition where we can go in for digitization, which is essential. When we go in for, online courses, whether in science or arts, but please do not put the cart before the horse.
Thank you.
Before the horse. I disagree with you. You cannot always say that give me this, then I'll do this. You keep doing and doing what you have.
Of course, but
You cannot wait for everything to come to you. No, I disagree.
Okay. We are not waiting. We are not waiting, but we should remember that.
When Rajiv Gandhi wanted to introduce computers in this country, everyone was up in arms. But then what happened? When the computers came, everyone learned how to use them. So don't wait for the training to happen first. Don't wait for the cart or the horse or anybody. Let's just do what we have to do. Infrastructure will be forced. The government will be forced to create the infrastructure. The demand cannot come from you and me. The demand will come from the students because we'll provide them online materials. We'll provide them all the tools. Now the ball will be in the government's court to make sure that it is accessible. We from state universities have this advantage and we should push for it.
Appreciate.
Hope so.
Appreciate.
Let's wait for the best.
I am looking to fail, but I'm not going to wait for the infrastructure. Let's
The point is that there could be parallel things happening at the same time. There are different levels of education, different levels of educational institutes, and different needs of different groups of people. There could be parallel things happening. Yes, as we said earlier, digital access must be a fundamental right. Investment in digital access by the government must happen, but that does not stop good universities with some resources go on improving and innovating. There has been an observation, the comment from Dr. 𝐊𝐿𝐴 𝐏𝐸𝐺 from the audience that online or electronic learning can be also through television. Yes, there are attempts that has been done. Gyan Darshan has been done, and Edu TV has been also started by Zee once upon a time. I think the time is again to revive that. We at Adamas University have started Chetana.tv, which will also go on ground very soon. So there are different ways of handling this part as well. There is also a question on UGC. UGC has given a calendar of post-COVID higher education. Yes, that's true, but the point is more as a guideline. And every university is free to also, within the broad guideline, make their decisions according to that. And I think all the vice chancellors have actually told what they're planning to do with respect to admissions and examinations. Dr. Dipendra Jha, if you could also look at examinations and admissions in the COVID times now.
So at Adamas University, I think admissions are already going on. We have already shifted to online admission tests, and every fortnightly we do it because we understand. I mean, there are issues with technology and accessibility and internet connectivity, etc. So we are doing it every fortnightly these days. So it's going on. Regarding examination, we are going to conduct it in June 15th onwards, and this will be, we are doing it through TCS Iron platform, where the students, I mean, we have made it slightly simpler. The students will get their, I mean, when they enter into their portal, they will find out their question, and all they need to download and then write it on paper, and then scan it and upload it there itself. So I mean, while they can even write it there, we have also asked, given this opportunity to them to, write it on a piece of paper if it is difficult to, get, connectivity for a longer time, and they can do it and then, upload it at the portal. That's what we are doing. We will be completing all the evaluation, final year as well as intermediate degrees within July as recommended by the UGC. And mid of August, we are likely to have the results ready. We'll try to do it, for the final year as soon as possible, but I anticipate around August mid.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Dr. Chakraborty, if you could speak, you've already spoken about the examination part. On admission, if you could speak, and there is one question for you. One person from the audience has asked. Let me just tell that question 1 minute. Yes. Can online course take over classroom teaching in law? So that's one question that has come. And if you could also talk about admissions.
As regarding admission, our admission is CLAT, which is common law admission test for all the 23 national law universities. And that CLAT last date now shifted to 1st of July for applications, online applications, and examination maybe in last week of July. So I think the result would be by August. So before August, admission will not be completed. And as regards online classes on law, I think what our co-panelists also told that it is not the substitute. But one thing that in law, when we go for online teaching, we can look into some of the, and we can incorporate some of the practical experience visiting faculties, which we are not getting in everyday classes. That advantage is when we are facing some challenges, we have to see what other ways we can make it engage and we can make the students interesting to that. So innovative way, I think it is not that at par with classroom is the best, but online teaching can be thinking of more practical oriented, skill oriented if we link with our traditional teachers as well as the experienced practical bar and bench people to link with our core faculties. That would be more interesting also.
Great, great, thank you. Dr. Mall,
Yes.
Dr. Mall, sir, if you could speak
Yes.
on your examination and admissions.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. Now about the examination, we already decided, and we have a different system. Since beginning, we have the semester system. Because I retired from IIT Kharagpur and joined here as the Vice Chancellor, so that same system we adapted here. We have 20 marks teachers evaluation, 30 marks mid semester, and only 50 marks for the end semester. So 20 and 30 they are already over. Before 15th of March, I mean 20 means that is teachers evaluation throughout the semester they evaluate, and 30 is the mid semester. So mid semester was also over, only 50 marks remaining. So we have decided that we will start for the last semester from 15th of June, and by last week of June, maybe by 25th of June, we'll try to complete. And all practicals, we have another different kind of examination also, which is known as 𝐾𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐜. Every student in all the semester, they have to, put up an exhibition, sort of exhibition project that carries 1 credit. So usually they have some physical models and this kind of things under normal circumstances. But this time they are all online, so that is already over. Practicals are almost over. There are little problem due to this last super cyclone that it is a little bit delayed. Maybe within a few days, all the practical examination of the last semester will be over, and from 15th June, we will start the theory examination for 50% only. The rest 50% is already over, and by about 25th June or so, we'll try to finish. For the junior classes, we propose to have the offline examination. And we want to have some maybe 7 to 10 days of classes again. Although we had the online classes, syllabus is completed, but we'll have some practical classes and some theory classes also. And by the end of July, we'll try to conduct the examination for the junior batches. And as far as admission is concerned, it's going on. But certain things, they depend on the, like West Bengal JEE board, they have to conduct that. So our engineering admission will be based on that. And as our Vice-Chancellor of our NUJS, we call it, told that CLAT is that for admission in law, we have law course. So in law, we can take admission only on that. Similarly, some other science courses, etc., we admit on the basis of their marks and some sort of a online test. So online test we can conduct, but unless they have their higher secondary courses in undergraduate, we cannot admit them. So obviously we have to wait, and this admission can go up to end of August, because for the first year, the classes will start from 1st of September this year. So that will be there. But for the end semester, we want to complete it by the end of June, everything. So that by beginning of July, they'll all get their results.
Thank you. I think we have already crossed 150 minutes in this discussion. And 150 minutes of intense content. And thanks to Professor Suranjan Das, a bit of humor as well.
Das is always humorous.
We always have it when I have the two best friends, Anuradha and Dhruva, with the same panel. It's very, very enjoyable.
And thanks to the 3 friends, a lot of bantering and very friendly but interesting points of debate and polemics.
It's always great to have these 2 friends of mine in the same panel.
Yes, indeed. So that was really an icing on the cake. But we mustn't forget that content shared by all 8 of you. I started by saying you are the modern Rishi Munis. And by the way, there was a Lady Muni also, Gargi and many others in our history. So you are the modern Rishi Munis of Bengal education. And I really thank AVP, not just as a courtesy point, not just as a practice. From my core of the heart, I thank AVP Education to launch with such an erudite debate, discussion, and polemics included as well, which is so rare in public life these days. There is hardly any debate, discussion, and polemics. It is my way or highway. That is the way people look at it, and that's really sad. So you have given a Bangla jake bole drishtanto. You have given an example of how a debate discussion should be conducted in good spirit with the welfare of people in heart. And so many comments are coming. I cannot, because that will be another 2.5 hours if we go on just reading. So what we'll do is that we will just collect all the comments, earlier questions before the event and during the event, and send you all in a soft copy just to have a quick glance. Because some writers are themselves principals, former vice-chancellors, the researchers, abroad foreign researchers. They're giving fabulous comments. So, and many suggestions and ideas also given. Not only just thank you, there are dime a dozen or dozens of thank yous, but there are genuine comments and suggestions which I think the entire education system of Bengal can benefit from. So that I would be sharing. The other point is the request we have already decided that the video link of this entire presentation, entire discussion will go to all participants, obviously you, but to all the participants who have registered. And that is another point that I wanted to say. I have one request for the Vice-Chancellors with folded hands. Please write a 1200 words piece on the content that you have spoken, like blended education in law, Professor Chakraborty, like how to mitigate the mental health challenges in this time, Professor Mall, the practical, online, virtual practical, and how to blend that into the physical practical and the design thinking approach that Dr. DJC has brought in. If Anuradha ma'am can really come out with what is a mentor, who is a real mentor, true mentor, how is the mentor different from the old school teaching? So if that could be a perspective that you can bring. Sir, Father, if you could come out with, really have given a immediate, small, long, midterm, short-term, midterm, and long-term solutions. If you could come out with that in an organized manner, you can take up any theme, but if you could come on that and share a 1200 words, 1000 words a piece. Dr. Jha has already written about outcome-based education and is already carried in ABP education, but some other topic if you could take. Even Dr. DJC has already written on health communication and is already carried. Dr. 𝐊𝐞𝐲 has already written and is also carried. But what I really like, sir, is education 4.0. If you could really elucidate, if you could make a manifesto of education 4.0. I mean, once upon a time there was a communist manifesto, and now it could be an education 4.0 manifesto. If you could come with that, and if you could share, that would be really a good contribution. And Professor Das, the challenge of the social sciences in the context of this blended learning or online learning, online pure or blended. I mean, nobody is talking about pure online here. Everyone is talking about blended, no doubt. But if you could really challenge of the social sciences education, if this could come, this will enrich. One is listening to you all, listening to the video, you see the comments, but also if a written thing goes in the archives for every time and all times to come, that would be great. The purpose of this whole thing was to raise these issues. And before I part, to all the audience members and also you all, this is the beginning of a, maybe it could be much longer, beginning of a 10 weeks webinar series. So the biggest names first week, then we go into subject wise. So we'll focus on, let's say, media education 1 week, management education 1 week, law education 1 week, medical education 1 week, sciences, liberal sciences education 1 week, and social sciences education 1 week, then engineering and technology 1 week, and global education, that too 1 week. So we will have 10 weeks of Bengal and Eastern region focus, then we'll go national. the Vice-Chancellors of top 10 universities of the country, like the top 15, 20 universities of the country. So like that, this is the idea that ABP Education wants to continue every Saturday, same time, 3 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. every Saturday, one single webinar. At this point, webinar, sometimes it will be physical seminar as well as we go ahead. We look forward to that. But at this point, webinar, we have already planned the first 10 weeks, which will be in the form of webinar. So this is a great contribution that you have made. Thank you very much for your time. I need to bring this to an end. Every good thing has to have an end. And if I have, by any word or expression or any passing comment, if I have hurt anyone or have made anything that you were not palatable to you, I ask for being excused. You are all senior, and I would expect that your guidance to the education of Bengal will continue unabated the way it has been. Thank you.
But could I on behalf of the entire panel thank Professor 𝐬𝐻𝐲 𝐏𝐸 for being a wonderful moderator, wonderful and tolerant moderator. Tolerant moderator is most important. And could I also thank the ABP, particularly Ms. 𝐬𝐻𝐲 𝐏𝐸 for taking this initiative, and we do look forward to having such webinars in future. Thank you very much indeed.
I would also like to name the Editor-in-Chief of ABP Digital, Anjan Bandyopadhyay, editorial evangelist for abpeducation.com, Anjan Chakraborty, ABP Digital Business Head, Ms. 𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐻𝐿𝐿 Chaudhary, and in the also business team, Shivanita's team, Ms. Aanchal Dalmia, apart from our host today, who is a technocrat herself, Ms. Papia Mazumdar, for bringing this session to you all through this program. And the gentleman who is helping me throughout the day, Mr. Rathur. Thanking you all and thanking you all, we bring this session to an end. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.